The drilling platform Leviathan 7 hummed with mechanical precision as it carved through Europa's ancient ice, its thermal lances cutting pathways that hadn't seen light for 4 billion years. Commander Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck, watching the real-time depth readouts climb higher while her thoughts drifted to the monthly production reports that would determine the colony's fate. New Geneva colonies sprawled across Europa's surface like a metallic organism, its biodomes and extraction facilities connected by pressurized tunnels that snaked across the moon's frozen landscape. 47,000 souls called this place home, making it the largest human settlement beyond Mars. The irony wasn't lost on Elena that humanity's greatest expansion had led them to live like moles, burrowing deeper into worlds that seemed determined to crush them. "Commander, we're approaching the 20-kilometer mark," announced Dr. Marcus Chin, the colony's chief xenogeologist. His voice carried that familiar mixture of excitement and exhaustion that came from years of pushing the boundaries of human exploration. "The subsurface ocean is definitely within reach. We should hit liquid water within the next 48 hours. Elena nodded, her reflection ghost-like in the reinforced polymer viewing window. At 38, she had spent more of her life in artificial gravity than natural, more time breathing recycled air than the winds of Earth. Her generation had been born to the stars, raised on the promise that humanity's destiny lay in the conquest of space. Yet standing here, watching machines tear into the heart of an alien world, she sometimes wondered if they were conquerors or refugees. "What's the mineral composition looking like?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The preliminary surveys had been promising enough to justify the massive investment in Leviathan 7, but actual extraction would tell the real story. "Rich deposits of rare earth metals, as expected. The europium concentrations are off the charts. We're looking at enough material to power Earth's fusion reactors for centuries." "But there's something else, Commander." Chen's voice took on a different quality, the tone of a scientist who had seen something that didn't fit the models. Elena turned from the window. "Something else? We're detecting structured formations. Geometric patterns that—" He paused, running a hand through his graying hair. "They don't look natural. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've never seen mineral formations create these kinds of angles and symmetries." The words hung in the recycled air like a challenge to everything they thought they knew about Europa. Since the colony's establishment 15 years ago, they had found ice, water, trace minerals, and the occasional organic compound that sent the xenobiologists into fits of excitement. But never structures. Never anything that suggested intelligence. "Show me," Elena said. They took the high-speed transport through the main tunnel to the Geological Survey Station. The colony's tunnels were marvels of engineering, their walls lined with smart glass that could display everything from Earth's skies to abstract patterns designed to prevent the psychological breakdown that came from too much confinement. Today, Elena barely noticed the simulated sunset that played across the ceiling as they traveled. The survey station buzzed with activity. Technicians hunched over displays showing three-dimensional models of Europa's subsurface, while automated systems processed data streams from dozens of drilling sites across the colony's operational area. Chen led her to his personal workstation, where a holographic display showed the cross-section of their deepest drilling site. "Here," he said, manipulating the display to highlight a section 18 kilometers down. "These formations. They're not random. Look at the angles, the proportions. It's almost like architecture," Elena finished. The structures were undeniably artificial, too regular, too purposeful to be natural formations. They seemed to form a complex network, spreading outward from a central hub in patterns that suggested planning, intelligence, intent. "How big is this complex?" Elena asked, though part of her didn't want to know the answer. "That's the thing, Commander. We can't determine the full extent. Our deepest penetration scans suggest it goes on for kilometers. Possibly much farther." Elena stared at the display, her mind racing through the implications. First contact protocols, Colonial Council regulations, the potential impact on mining operations, the questions that would come from Earth. But beneath all the bureaucratic concerns lay a more fundamental question: What did they do when humanity's expansion finally encountered something that was already there? Dr. Chen, I want this information restricted to essential personnel only. Until we understand what we're dealing with, this stays between us and the senior staff. Commander, with respect, we can't just ignore this. If there's an indigenous civilization, we're not ignoring anything. We're being careful. The difference between first contact and first catastrophe could be how we handle the next 24 hours. A soft chime from the communications system interrupted their conversation. Commander Vasquez to the operations center. Priority 1. Elena's stomach tightened. Priority 1 meant something had gone wrong with the drilling operations. Something serious enough to risk the entire extraction schedule. She found operations center in controlled chaos. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park, the colony's chief engineer, was coordinating with drill teams while monitoring displays that showed the status of their various extraction sites. The main screen displayed real-time feeds from Leviathan 7, and Elena could see immediately that something was wrong. Report, Elena ordered. We've lost contact with Drill Team Alpha, Park said without turning from her displays. They were conducting routine maintenance on the primary extraction head when all communication ceased. No distress signal, no equipment failure warnings. Just nothing. How long ago? 17 minutes. I've dispatched Emergency Response Team 1, but they're still 12 minutes out. Elena studied the feeds from Leviathan 7. The massive drilling platform continued its automated operations, but something about the imagery seemed wrong. The ice formations around the drill site had changed, creating what looked like small hills or bumps on the surface. Park, are you seeing these surface changes? Yes, Commander. Geological shift, most likely caused by the drilling operations. It's not uncommon when we're working at these depths. But Elena wasn't convinced. The formations were too regular, too purposeful. They looked less like geological shifts and more like... Commander! The voice came from Communications Specialist Torres at his station across the operations center. I'm receiving a transmission from the drill site. It's not from our team. The operations center fell silent except for the hum of life support systems and the distant vibration of drilling equipment. Elena felt her pulse accelerate as she crossed to Torres's station. Put it through the main speakers, she ordered. The sound that filled the operations center was unlike anything Elena had ever heard. It was clearly artificial, too structured to be natural, too complex to be random equipment noise. But it wasn't human. The patterns were wrong, the frequencies alien. It sounded like language, but a language created by minds that had never breathed air or felt the warmth of sunlight. How long has this been transmitting? Elena asked. It started approximately 3 minutes ago. The signal is strong and coming from directly below the drill site. Elena looked at the main display, where the mysterious surface formations had grown larger and more defined. They weren't hills at all, she realized. They were molehills. Something was moving beneath Europa's surface, pushing up through the ice, responding to humanity's intrusion into their world. All drilling operations are suspended immediately, Elena announced. I want emergency response teams 2 and 3 mobilized. And get me a secure channel to Earth. We're about to make history. The emergency briefing room had been designed to hold 12 people comfortably. Elena counted 23 faces around the conference table and standing along the walls. The entire senior staff of New Geneva Colony plus the specialized team leaders who would need to coordinate humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. The transmission has been ongoing for 6 hours, Dr. Chen reported, calling up the acoustic analysis on the main display. The Xenolinguistics AI has identified recurring patterns that suggest structured communication, but the underlying syntax is unlike anything in our databases. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the colony's xenobiologist, leaned forward in her chair. The implications are staggering. An intelligent species that evolved in Europa's subsurface ocean would be completely adapted to high-pressure, low-light environments. Their sensory systems, their social structures, their entire understanding of reality would be fundamentally different from ours. The question, interrupted Colonel Jackson Webb, military liaison for the colony, "is whether their intentions are hostile. They've already caused the disappearance of our drill team." Elena held up a hand. "We don't know what happened to Alpha Team. Let's not assume the worst until we have more information." The truth was that Emergency Response Team 1 had found no trace of the missing drilling crew. The equipment was intact, the safety system showed no failures, but 6 human beings had simply vanished from a sealed underground facility. The only clue was a series of perfectly circular holes in the floor of the maintenance bay, each exactly 1.2 meters in diameter and extending downward beyond the reach of their longest scanners. "Commander," said Dr. Sarah Kim, the colony's chief communications specialist, "I've been analyzing the transmission patterns. There's a mathematical progression in the frequency shifts that suggests they're trying to establish a basis for communication. They're not just making noise, they're attempting to teach us their language." Elena nodded. "What's our response protocol?" "The Colonial Council's first contact guidelines specify that any communication with alien intelligence should be limited to basic mathematical concepts until a linguistic framework can be established. We should respond with prime numbers, mathematical constants, basic geometric relationships." "And if they interpret our response as hostile?" Colonel Webb asked. "Then we're in trouble," Elena said frankly. "Because they've demonstrated they can move freely through Europa's subsurface while we're trapped in pressurized habitats on the surface. If they wanted to destroy us, they probably could have done it already." The main display chimed with an incoming priority message from Earth. Elena's heart sank as she recognized the transmission delay. 4 hours for signals to travel from Europa to Earth and back meant that any guidance from home would be based on information that was already obsolete. "This is Director General Martinez of the Colonial Council," the recorded message began. "Upon receipt of your preliminary first contact report, all extraction operations on Europa are suspended pending full investigation. You are ordered to establish defensive positions and await the arrival of the expeditionary fleet. Do not attempt further contact with the alien entities. This is a direct order." Elena muted the display. "The expeditionary fleet is 3 months away. We can't wait that long." "Commander," Dr. Kim said urgently, "the transmission pattern is changing. They're repeating our basic mathematical sequences back to us, but with modifications. They're learning." The conference room's speakers crackled to life with the alien transmission. The sounds were still strange, still fundamentally non-human, but Elena could hear the mathematical relationships Dr. Kim had identified. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, pi to 12 decimal places. The aliens were demonstrating not just intelligence but rapid learning ability. "They're giving us increasingly complex mathematical proofs," Dr. Kim continued, "showing us that they understand not just our number system but advanced concepts like calculus and probability theory. Which means they could be at least as advanced as we are," Dr. Tanaka added. "Possibly more so." Elena made a decision that she knew would define the rest of her career, one way or another. "Dr. Kim, I want you to respond with a message indicating peaceful intent. Use the established mathematical framework, but introduce concepts of cooperation and mutual benefit." "Commander, that's a direct violation of orders," Colonel Webb said. "Colonel, in 3 hours we're going to lose contact with Earth for the next 6 days due to Jupiter's orbital position. By the time the expeditionary fleet arrives, this situation will have resolved itself one way or another. We can't wait for instructions from people who are 4 hours away from our reality." Elena turned to address the entire room. "I want all departments to prepare for the possibility of establishing formal diplomatic relations. That means cultural specialists, language experts, and trade negotiation teams. But I also want our defensive systems fully operational and evacuation plans updated. We're going to hope for the best while preparing for the worst." The surface of Europa had never been quiet, but the sounds that emerged from beneath the ice at 0347 colony time were unlike anything in the Moon's 4-billion-year history. The seismic sensors registered the disturbances first, rhythmic vibrations that seemed to pulse through the ground in patterns that corresponded exactly to the mathematical sequences the aliens had been transmitting. Elena stood in the command center, having been awakened by the Priority 1 alert that indicated major surface activity across the colony's operational area. Through the reinforced windows, she could see lights moving beneath the ice, not the harsh white glare of human technology, but soft, bioluminescent patterns that shifted and pulsed in complex rhythms. "Seismic activity is increasing exponentially," reported Lieutenant Park from the Geological Monitoring Station. "Whatever's happening down there, it's big. And it's happening simultaneously across a 12-kilometer radius." Dr. Chen joined Elena at the observation window. "Commander, we're seeing massive ice displacement. It's like they're creating a network of passages connecting different areas of the subsurface." As they watched, the first molehill began to crack. The sound was like thunder, but sustained, a deep, resonant splitting that seemed to come from the very core of the moon. Steam began to vent from the fissures, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something else, something organic and alien. "Atmospheric analysis shows elevated nitrogen levels and trace amounts of xenon," Dr. Tanaka reported from her station. "The chemical signature is consistent with an atmosphere that's been isolated from the surface for geological time periods." The crack widened, and Elena could see movement within, not the random motion of escaping gas, but purposeful, directed activity. Something was climbing toward the surface. "All personnel to emergency stations," Elena announced over the colony-wide communication system. "This is not a drill. We are experiencing first contact with an alien species. Remain calm, follow established protocols, and await further instructions." The first alien to emerge from Europa's depths was nothing like the creatures of human imagination. It moved with fluid grace despite its size, roughly 3 meters in length and half as wide, its body covered in what appeared to be a combination of organic tissue and metallic components. Bioluminescent patterns played across its surface in the same mathematical sequences they had been transmitting, creating a living display of light and color. "Incredible," Dr. Tanaka whispered. "It's clearly adapted for high-pressure environments, but look at those appendages. They're designed for fine manipulation work. And those metallic components, they're not wearing technology, they've integrated it into their biology." More creatures emerged from the expanding fissure, each one unique in its patterns of bioluminescence, but sharing the same basic structure. They moved with coordination and purpose, establishing what appeared to be a perimeter around the opening while others continued to surface. "Commander," Dr. Kim called from the communication station. "The transmission patterns are changing again. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies now, and the signals are coming from the creatures themselves. They're not using technology to communicate, they are the technology." Elena felt a mixture of awe and apprehension as she watched humanity's first contact with alien intelligence unfold outside her window. The creatures showed no signs of hostility, but their capabilities were clearly beyond anything in the human experience. They had carved through 18 kilometers of ice in less than 12 hours, modified their physiology to integrate artificial components, and demonstrated mathematical understanding that matched or exceeded human achievements. "Dr. Kim, can you establish two-way communication?" "I'm trying, Commander. The mathematical framework seems to be working, but they're introducing concepts I can't translate. Complex geometric relationships, probability matrices, something that might be temporal mathematics." One of the larger creatures, Elena thought of it as the leader, though she had no basis for the assumption, approached the main window of the command center. Its bioluminescent patterns shifted to the same mathematical sequences they had been using to communicate, but slower, more deliberate. It was trying to get their attention. "It's looking at us," Dr. Chen observed. "Those sensory organs, they're definitely visual. It can see us." The creature raised one of its appendages toward the window, and Elena found herself raising her hand in response. The universal gesture of peaceful contact transmitted across the vast gulf of evolution and circumstance. The creature's bioluminescent patterns shifted to a new configuration, a spiral of light that pulsed outward from its center, accompanied by harmonic tones that resonated through the window. Elena felt the meaning without understanding the mechanism. Greeting, acknowledgement, perhaps even welcome. "Dr. Kim, are you recording this?" Every frequency, every pattern. Commander, I think they're trying to show us something. The mathematical relationships they're transmitting, they're describing the internal structure of Europa. They're making us a map. Elena looked at the display Dr. Kim was creating from the alien transmissions. It showed a three-dimensional representation of Europa's interior, but not as human science understood it. The alien map revealed a vast network of interconnected chambers and passages, some natural but many clearly artificial. An entire civilization existed in the depths below, hidden from human detection by their assumption that intelligent life required surface conditions. How many of them are there? Elena asked. Based on the extent of the civilization they're describing, Dr. Tanaka said, studying the alien data. Thousands. Possibly tens of thousands. And they've been here for a very long time. The geological markers suggest their civilization is at least 10,000 years old. The implications were staggering. Humanity had been drilling into Europa for 15 years, extracting resources and assuming they were the first intelligence to explore the moon's depths. But the aliens had been watching, learning, adapting to the presence of the newcomers from the surface. Commander, Colonel Webb said, his voice tight with concern. If they've been monitoring our operations, they know our capabilities, our weaknesses, our entire colonial infrastructure. We're completely vulnerable. Elena watched the creatures outside the window as they continued their emergence. More were surfacing now, carrying what appeared to be tools or equipment. They moved with the efficiency of a species that had perfected cooperation over millennia. Maybe, Elena said. Or maybe they're offering us something we never expected to find out here. Which is? Partnership. The breakthrough came from Dr. Yuki Tanaka's analysis of the aliens' integrated biotechnology. Working around the clock with the Xenolinguistics AI, she had discovered that the creature's bioluminescent communication wasn't just visual, it was multidimensional, incorporating electromagnetic frequencies, harmonic vibrations, and even quantum field fluctuations that human instruments could barely detect. They're not just talking to us, Tanaka explained to the Emergency Council session. They're broadcasting the complete sensory experience of their concepts. When they communicate the idea of water, they're transmitting not just the symbol but the molecular structure, the pressure variations, the temperature gradients, even the emotional associations they have with the substance. Elena rubbed her tired eyes. She hadn't slept in 36 hours, not since the aliens had established their surface outpost and begun what could only be described as construction activities. They were building something, but its purpose remained unclear. Can we communicate back in the same way? Elena asked. That's the problem, Dr. Kim interjected. Our technology can mimic the basic patterns, but we can't generate the multidimensional complexity they use. It's like trying to sing an opera with a kazoo. But we can understand what they're saying. Partially. The AI has identified several key concepts: extraction, depletion, cooperation, and something that translates roughly as symbiosis. They're definitely concerned about our mining operations. Elena looked out at the alien construction site. The creatures had erected what appeared to be a processing facility directly over the main drilling site, connected to their subsurface network by a series of vertical tunnels. Whatever they were building, it was sophisticated enough to incorporate both organic and technological components. Commander, Lieutenant Park reported from the monitoring station. We're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the alien facility. They're tapping directly into Europa's geothermal systems. Show me. The main display illustrated the energy flows beneath Europa's surface. The aliens had constructed a network of thermal collectors that stretched for kilometers underground, channeling heat from the moon's core to power their operations. The efficiency was remarkable. They were extracting more energy from Europa's geothermal systems than the human colony used in total. They're not just mining, Elena realized. They're conducting planetary engineering. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. If they can tap the geothermal energy at this scale, they could potentially alter Europa's internal temperature. Change the dynamics of the subsurface ocean, maybe even affect the moon's orbital characteristics. Commander, Dr. Kim said urgently, I'm receiving a new transmission. The patterns are different, more complex, more urgent. I think they're trying to issue a warning. The speakers filled with the aliens' harmonic communication, but Elena could hear the difference in tone. The mathematical sequences were faster, more insistent, accompanied by electromagnetic patterns that made the hair on her arms stand up. They're describing trajectory calculations. Dr. Kim continued, working frantically to decode the transmission. Orbital mechanics, gravitational relationships. Commander, I think they're talking about asteroids. Elena felt her blood run cold. Explain. The mathematical models they're transmitting show the solar system from a perspective we've never had access to, someone who's been observing from the outer system for millennia. And they're showing us, oh God, Commander. They're showing us an asteroid impact. The main display shifted to show Dr. Kim's translation of the alien data. The trajectory calculations were undeniable. A massive asteroid, several kilometers in diameter, was on a collision course with Europa. Impact was predicted in less than 72 hours. How is this possible? Elena demanded. Our early warning system should have detected something that large months ago. Not if it's coming from outside the ecliptic plane, Dr. Chen said, studying the trajectory data. Our monitoring systems are focused on threats from within the solar system. This object is approaching from galactic north. We would have had no warning until it was already too late. Elena stared at the projection, her mind racing through the implications. An asteroid impact of this magnitude wouldn't just destroy the colony. It would crack Europa's ice shell, potentially disrupting the subsurface ocean that supported the alien civilization. They're not trying to drive us off, she said, understanding finally dawning. They're trying to save us. The communication pattern shifted again, and this time the meaning was clear even without translation. The aliens were offering cooperation. Their deep drilling technology combined with human surface capabilities could potentially deflect or destroy the incoming asteroid. Commander, Colonel Webb said, we need to contact Earth immediately. An asteroid threat of this magnitude requires a coordinated response from the entire colonial fleet. There's no time, Elena replied. Even if we could get a message through to Earth and back, the fleet is 3 months away. We have 72 hours to solve this problem with the resources we have available. She turned to address the assembled department heads. I want all department heads to prepare for full cooperation with the alien engineers. Dr. Kim, I need you to establish detailed communication protocols. Dr. Tanaka, work with their biotechnology specialists to understand their capabilities. Colonel Webb, coordinate with their military or security forces to develop a joint defense strategy. Commander, Dr. Kim interrupted. They're transmitting again. Personal communication, directed specifically at you. Elena approached the communication station. Put it through. The harmonic patterns that filled the room were different from the previous transmissions, more personal, less mathematical. Elena couldn't understand the meaning directly, but she felt the emotional content. Greeting, respect, and something that might have been hope. They're asking you to meet with them, Dr. Kim translated. Face to face. They want to establish formal diplomatic contact. Elena looked out at the alien construction site, where the creatures were working with increasing urgency to complete their defensive preparations. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, and it was happening in the shadow of mutual annihilation. Tell them yes, Elena said. And tell them we're ready to work together. The meeting chamber the aliens constructed was a marvel of bioengineering. Located at the intersection of their tunnels and the human colony's main access corridor, it provided a pressurized environment that could support both species. The walls were lined with what appeared to be living tissue that glowed with soft bioluminescence, while the floor was covered in a material that felt organic but provided the stability of manufactured flooring. Elena entered the chamber accompanied by Dr. Kim and Dr. Tanaka, their environmental suits modified with the translation equipment that had been jury-rigged from the colony's communication systems. The aliens had designated 3 representatives. The large creature she had first seen at the command center window, another that seemed to specialize in technical communication, and a third whose bioluminescent patterns were more complex and varied than any they had observed. The introductions were a careful dance of mathematical concepts and harmonic frequencies. Elena learned that the large creature was called something that translated roughly as Deep Current Thrustone, a name that seemed to reference both its role in the alien society and its personal characteristics. The technical specialist was Bright Patterns in Metal, while the third alien bore a name that Dr. Kim could only translate as Memory Keeper of the Long Dark. They've been monitoring our activities since we arrived, Dr. Kim translated as Deep Current Thrustone communicated. Not with hostility, but with curiosity. They've been trying to understand our purpose, our methods, our intentions. Elena nodded, speaking slowly so that the translation systems could process her words into the mathematical harmonic patterns the aliens used. We came to Europa to extract resources for our civilization. We didn't know you were here. The response came from Memory Keeper of the Long Dark, its patterns more complex and layered than the others. Dr. Kim struggled with the translation. They're discussing their history. They've known of threats from outside the system for millennia. They've been preparing, waiting. Threats like the asteroid? Elena asked. The aliens exchanged rapid harmonic bursts before Deep Current Thrustone responded. Not just asteroids. They're talking about a pattern of cosmic events, objects deliberately directed toward inhabited worlds. This isn't random. Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with Europa's environment. Are they saying this attack is intentional? Bright Patterns in Metal activated what appeared to be a living display system, its bioluminescent patterns creating a three-dimensional map of local space. The image showed not just the incoming asteroid, but its trajectory extending back through the outer system, past Neptune, beyond Pluto, into the dark spaces between stars. The asteroid has been accelerated, Dr. Tanaka interpreted from the technical data being shared. Its current velocity is far too high for a natural orbital insertion. Someone or something pushed it toward the inner system. Memory Keeper of the Long Dark's communication grew more urgent, its patterns indicating deep concern and something that might have been fear. Dr. Kim's translation was halting. They speak of the Harvesters. Ancient enemies who consume the resources of worlds, who seed destruction to make extraction easier. Elena exchanged glances with her companions. Are they saying there's another alien species out there? One that's hostile? More than hostile, Deep Current Thrustone responded. The Harvesters follow a pattern. They identify worlds with valuable resources, eliminate any indigenous life that might resist, then strip the worlds clean. Europa's rare minerals make it a target. The implications were staggering. Humanity's expansion into the outer system had attracted the attention of something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The missing drill team, the asteroid impact, even their own mining operations, everything was connected to a threat that spanned interstellar distances. How long have you known about this? Elena asked. The response came in waves of complex harmonics that Dr. Kim struggled to parse. Generations. They've been preparing defenses, developing technology to resist the Harvesters. But they're not strong enough alone. Bright Patterns in Metal projected new data into the living display. The asteroid was larger than their initial estimates, nearly 8 kilometers in diameter and composed of materials that would be extremely difficult to deflect or destroy with conventional weapons. However, the alien continued through the translation matrix. Combined technologies might succeed where neither could alone. Elena studied the technical data the aliens were sharing. Their bioengineered systems could bore through solid matter with remarkable efficiency, while their energy collection methods could power weapons systems far beyond human capabilities. Meanwhile, human technology offered precision guidance systems, advanced materials, and manufacturing techniques that the aliens seemed to find fascinating. What are you proposing? Elena asked. Deep Current Thrustone's response was accompanied by new projections in the living display. The plan was audacious. Use combined human and alien technology to convert the asteroid from a weapon of destruction into a resource extraction facility. Instead of destroying it, they would hollow it out, redirect its trajectory, and establish a joint mining operation that could supply both civilizations. The harvesters expect their weapon to impact and eliminate all life on Europa. Memory Keeper of the Long Dark explained. If instead they find a fortified, jointly defended facility, they may choose to seek easier targets. Elena realized the aliens were offering more than cooperation. They were proposing a complete alliance, a joining of human and alien capabilities that could change the balance of power in the outer system. What about our respective governments? Elena asked. I don't have authority to negotiate on behalf of all humanity. The response was swift and certain. Time eliminates the luxury of bureaucracy. The asteroid arrives in 67 hours. We must act now or face extinction together. Elena made the decision that would define humanity's future. What do you need from us? The next 18 hours transformed New Geneva Colony into something unprecedented in human history, a joint human-alien engineering facility. The aliens' biotechnology merged seamlessly with human manufacturing systems, creating hybrid devices that neither species could have developed alone. Elena stood in the main engineering bay, watching as Dr. Tanaka worked alongside bright patterns in metal to calibrate a biomechanical missile system. The aliens' metallic components interfaced directly with the human guidance computers, creating a targeting system that was both organic and electronic, alive and manufactured. The integration is remarkable, Dr. Tanaka reported. Their biological components can adapt in real time to changing conditions, while our electronics provide precision and reliability. Together, we're creating weapon systems that are greater than the sum of their parts. Colonel Webb coordinated the military aspects of the operation from a command station that now incorporated alien biodisplays alongside human holographic systems. We have 12 hybrid missiles ready for deployment, with 6 more in final assembly. The alien deep-bore systems have successfully established launch tunnels at optimal trajectory points. Elena nodded, reviewing the tactical display that showed their defensive preparations. The plan was complex. Use the biomechanical missiles to bore into the asteroid's core, then deploy combined human-alien charges to redirect its trajectory while simultaneously beginning the mining operations that would hollow out its interior. Commander, Dr. Kim called from the communications center. We're receiving signals from the asteroid itself. The energy patterns match the harvester's signature the aliens described. Elena joined Dr. Kim at his station, where the alien translation system was working to decode the incoming transmissions. The patterns were different from the Europa aliens' communication, harsher, more aggressive, carrying undertones that suggested violence and domination. They're scanning us, Deep Current Thrustone confirmed, its presence in the communications center a reminder of how quickly the two species had learned to work together. The harvesters are evaluating our defenses, determining whether we pose a threat. What are they seeing? Elena asked. Memory Keeper of the Long Dark provided the answer through harmonic patterns that conveyed both information and emotion. Confusion. They expected to find a defenseless mining colony. Instead, they detect energy signatures they don't recognize, our combined technologies. Elena felt a moment of hope. Does that mean our plan might work? Unknown, the alien replied. The harvesters are adapting their approach. The asteroid's trajectory is changing. The main display updated to show the new orbital calculations. The asteroid was adjusting its path, aiming for a more direct impact that would minimize the time available for defensive measures. Impact in 43 hours, Lieutenant Park reported. The trajectory change gives us less time but also creates a more predictable target path. Elena studied the updated tactical situation. The asteroid's course adjustment actually improved their chances. The more direct approach meant their missiles would require less course correction to reach their targets. All teams, implement acceleration protocol, Elena announced. We launch in 36 hours. The colony transformed into a hive of activity. Human and alien workers labored side by side, their different methods and capabilities creating a synergy that surprised everyone involved. The aliens' ability to reshape matter at the molecular level combined with human precision manufacturing to produce hybrid systems that performed beyond theoretical capabilities. Dr. Chen emerged from the Geological Analysis Center with news that changed everything. Commander, the asteroid composition is even more valuable than we initially calculated. The harvesters didn't just choose Europa randomly. They selected a weapon that would deliver massive quantities of ultra-rare materials along with the destruction. What kind of materials? Exotic matter. Elements that don't occur naturally in our solar system. Materials that could revolutionize energy production, space travel, even fundamental physics research. Elena realized the full scope of what they were facing. The harvesters weren't just destroying civilizations. They were delivering the tools for their own defeat. If humanity and the Europa aliens could successfully capture the asteroid, they would gain access to technology that could defend against future harvester attacks. Commander, Deep Current Thrustone approached with urgent communication patterns. The asteroid is beginning active scanning. The harvesters are preparing to deploy their own defensive systems. The main display showed new energy readings from the approaching object. What they had assumed to be a simple asteroid was revealing itself to be a sophisticated weapons platform, covered in materials designed to resist conventional attacks. They're not just using it as a kinetic weapon, Colonel Webb realized. They're planning to establish a beachhead. That asteroid is carrying invasion forces. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This wasn't just about saving the Europa colony, or even about humanity's first contact with alien intelligence. This was about determining whether life in the solar system would be free or enslaved. All departments, final preparations, she announced. We launch in 34 hours. And we only get one chance.